Hey guys, it's Tara back with you. This is like going to be my 9th video that I've made in this series, and we still have quite a bit to go. So please know, if you are here, there's a reason for it. If there's a reason why this title stuck out to you, it's because more than likely there's something here that you need to hear, and I would encourage you to stick around. And if you haven't already, please do me a favor and subscribe to my channel. Do me a favor and put a like down there. Help me grow my channel. Obviously I want to get it in the algorithm, and I want to get this in there because I believe there's a lot of really good information. And so today we're going to be covering the nervous system and trauma, safety, dysregulation, and healing. So we've been working on the emotional body and becoming, aware of our emotional body. And then we were talking about inner child awareness. Okay, so we're going to be doing the nervous system today, and then we're going to be moving into the mind-body connection as we move on. I like to write down my notes, even though I have them on my computer, because it helps just kind of ingrain them in my mind better. When I was learning to study when I was a teenager, that was something that just really worked for me. So we're going to go in, and then for the theme for today is your nervous system is not your enemy. It's a sacred intelligence wired for survival, right? So like if we're, back caveman days and, all of a sudden we have this saber-toothed tiger that like rolls up in our neighborhood, like our body is going to jump into a survival mode, and so we're going to talk a little bit about the different aspects of the nervous system and how it functions and how it relates to traumatic experiences. And since we're working on the soul journey, how it relates to our healing and our growth in our spiritual bodies or our souls. I'll get a little tongue-tied every once in a while. So with that being said, I welcome anybody new here. If you have not been following me, listen, I hope that, there might be a couple videos you can go back and relate to, I like that I'm doing it the way that I am, because you can go and be able to address different things. And it's been really cool for me because as I've been bringing up these different things, it feels like it's been going really slow. But at the same time, like even so I was looking at today's lesson and I was going, wow, there's different things that I have healed from and that I have addressed or that I have become aware of when it happened. But there's been a lot of things that my attention has been brought to, or I'm having to go back around and see how it might potentially still be impacting me. So it's been really good for me as well to be doing this. And so the thing about the nervous system, and I want to share a couple of personal things. So early on in my marriage, I was about 22. And I remember half of my face, like a Bell's palsy, it quit moving. Okay. And that freaked me out. I actually went and got brain scans and everything, and everything came back clear. But what it was is, now looking back, I had just gotten married. I had started a new job. I was trying to juggle all these different things. And then plus I still had not even started to heal from my traumatic experience in my childhood. And I had just walked into another, abusive relationship, but even at that moment, I was not aware of it. So today I was going back and thinking about, how could I have seen the red flags, or how could I have handled those things differently, So it's very interesting. And then I also, as I was going through my healing journey, not quite relating it to the spiritual aspect as I have in the last several years, but I think it was probably about 8 years ago, I had an episode where I had almost like a panic attack, and I felt like I was losing myself emotionally. And now when I look back and reflect, I had gone into my counselor and she's like, you are bipolar. She diagnosed me bipolar. I'm not bipolar. Okay. I was not able to regulate my emotions. I was dysregulated, and it was extremely difficult because I didn't know quite how to navigate it. Now, since I've been able to heal past a lot of those things, I have not even been close to anything that I had experienced during that time. So it's just interesting how our nervous system relates to all of this. So let's go ahead and let's keep rolling into this. So our core focus is going to be the nervous system role in trauma and emotional patterns. Okay. So we've been looking at a lot of the emotional patterns and how it relates to the body and our the emotional awareness. And then also recognize states of dysregulation and begin restoring safety within. See, during those moments, I didn't know how to regulate my emotions, and when I would try to sometimes express it to those around me that were the ones that were potentially adding to my trauma be like, oh, you're over emotional, or oh, you're being too much. And they completely, disregarded my emotions. So I had to navigate all this on my own, and so I didn't feel safe. I felt like I was losing my fucking mind, and so it's been so neat to go back and look at all this, and I'm still dealing with it. I'm still learning, picking up on those little triggers and learning to listen to my body in the moment. And it just, every day I learn more and more about my mind and my body. So we're going to go into core teaching. So what is the nervous system? So I actually went in and I looked up a more, something that was a little bit more thorough of an explanation. So I'm going to be putting that in the description. And then, so what it is it's the hold on. I said it earlier. Autonomic Nervous System, ANS. Okay, don't make fun of me, guys. So there's two different parts of that. It's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So the sympathetic is the fight or flight. So what happens is the autonomic nervous system, okay, I think I'm saying that right. Now, I said it earlier and it sounded right. Now I'm saying it. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So it deals with your heart rate, your breathing rate, your digestion, your pupil size, your sweating, your blood pressure. So like I talked about that saber-tooth tiger, roll it up into our village. What's going to happen? We're going to automatically get into shit. We might have to go run. We might have to go fight. We might have to, take, survival mode, right? So that happens in the sympathetic. So what happens is, a little bit more specifically, is it increases your heart rate. It widens your airways to your lungs. It dilates your pupils. It slows digestion. So, it affects all those different things. And so the other side of that is your parasympathetic. It's rest, digest, freeze. So after you've gone through a traumatic and, stressful thing, it's you need to give your body rest to come off of that fight or flight mode. And so when we do that, what happens is the parasympathetic, it slows down our heart rate. It restricts our pupils. It stimulates our digestion to start working properly again. And so promotes, lowers your blood pressure, relaxes muscles. So, there have been a lot of times in my life where I stayed in that fight or flight mode, okay? And that puts a lot of stress on the body. And, it's interesting because I had that episode where half of my face quit moving. But then there was, during my childbearing years, my gallbladder and my appendix took a poop on me. Now listen, I may have, done a lot of drugs and alcohol when I was a teenager, but there was a long stretch of time where I was not smoking, I was not drinking, I was not doing any drugs whatsoever, especially during the years when, when I was, giving birth and breastfeeding and taking care of my children. And so why did that happen? Because there are other ways. So my body had a lot of pressure, not just because of, childbearing years and the fluctuation of the hormones, but there was a lot of stress otherwise going on in my body as well. Because I'm a very healthy person. I've always had an amazing immune system. I hardly ever get sick. So why is it all of a sudden my gallbladder, even though I don't eat that unhealthily, decided to take a poop on me? And there's a couple different things I'm looking into. I'm not going to go into that right now, but when we pay attention to our body, there's reasons why it responds the way that it does. And then of course that episode where I was diagnosed bipolar, I was under so much stress. I didn't know how to regulate my emotions, and it just, blah, I was reacting rather than responding because I didn't have the support. I wasn't safe. So let's keep going on. That's interesting. So trauma is any experience that can overwhelm the ability to cope. Notice I just explained to you guys. It's an experience that overwhelms the ability to cope. It's interesting, isn't it? So 2, how trauma affects awakening. So when we're going through this awakening process and we are growing and healing and we're, going through this whole soul journey, our awakening does things to our body, okay? Our body starts changing on a molecular level, okay? Sensations, tingles, jolts, there's all different types of things, the ringing in the ears. And so it triggers trauma responses, okay? So awakening triggers trauma responses. Dissociation, fear, hypervigilance. Because when we have trauma in our body, whenever something happens to us that's outside the ordinary, our body automatically jumps into like fight or flight mode. It's a survival mode. So you can't spiritually bypass your body's need for safety, okay? So we can't just like blow it off. I'm like, oh, I'm a spiritual person, therefore I'm good to go. Nothing can hurt me. Like your body is still responding from those past traumas, and you can tell when there's a lot of things that are going to trigger us. So that's why it's very, very important that we are aware of our emotional body, guys. So here's some signs of dysregulation: chronic anxiety or shutdown, emotional reactivity, difficulty meditating or grounding, and energy burnout, feeling too open. So these are things that in the past were potentially very prominent with me. These are things that I've been able to, as I've gone through my healing, have become less and less and less. And so, I still look at these things, and there's still some times where I have a difficulty meditating or grounding. Even before I turn this video on, hands down, I put my hand on my heart and I took deep breaths, and I told myself that I was safe, because I have several different things that I have going on right now. And then, obviously, like, I want to make sure that I'm getting these videos out on time. And so there's like this anxiety. So stop, breathe, center yourself, So that's very important. So the alchemy tie-in, okay? Remember, we've been talking about the alchemy tie-in. So over on my channel, through the posts, I have the alchemist stages, which is also very similar to the hero's journey. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, you can go back and you can refer to it there. So we're going into deep Negretto work here. It's facing roots of the soul's fragmentation. So the trauma that we endured, as we were looking at the inner child work that we were doing just a couple days ago, when we start dealing with that inner child work and then dealing with our nervous system and how it responds is through this healing, you're going to see the stages that we go through in our healing or in our life in general. It's also albedo. It's bringing regulation and clarity, okay? Remember, self-awareness is huge. And when we are able to start identifying in our bodies the sensations and all these different things, and tied to why we're feeling the way we are, why we're responding and or reacting, or why we're doing the things that we are, our life, we start becoming more in control of ourselves. This is why people around us start falling away, because the people that were around us were used to our dysregulated self. They fed off of our trauma responses. They fed off of our over-emotional bodies because we didn't know how to regulate because we experienced trauma. So yeah, people are going to start falling away from you guys, if they haven't already. All right, so right here, remember we've been talking about journaling. So journaling, so the practice here is anchoring to safety, okay? How do I reassure myself, and how do I teach my nervous system, my body, to understand that it is safe when it is in fact safe, okay? Because that survival mode is there for a reason. There are times we're going to need it, but we shouldn't be staying in a constant state of that. And we shouldn't consistently being triggered into that state. So grounding breath with somatic cue. Like I was just saying, putting your hand on your heart, breathing, feeling the air going into your lungs as it enters into your nostrils, feeling your chest rise and go down, and going, I am safe, I'm here, there is no harm around me, and telling your body to calm down. It works. And then orienting exercise. So look around and name 5 things you can see, hear, feel. So that's been something that I know a lot of psychologists use. But even just that, what I was just doing is it's a orienting exercise. And then hand on your heart or your belly to signal safety. So I would encourage you to potentially journal these things. So next week we're going to be going, or in the next couple of days, we're going into mind-body connection. And so I'm excited about this, guys. If you found any of this helpful, or if you would like to ask a question, leave a comment. I would suggest that you please do that. If you haven't already, I'm going to remind you, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to build this up so I can reach more people, So anyways, I am done for today, but I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and or whenever you see this, morning, night, I don't care. I love you, and I'll be back with you guys soon. Mwah.